Welcome to AEW Unrestricted, the official podcast of All Elite Wrestling, and we are here at All Out Week. It's an exciting time at AEW. I know we just had a pay-per-view literally around the corner, and then we had this residency in Philly at the 2300 Arena that was awesome, and now we're here. We're going to the Great White North. We're going to Canada. I love the fans in Toronto. I'm so excited. This is the first ever the first ever AEW pay-per-view to be offered on HBO Max. It was coming. We knew it was coming, and it's finally there. But you can also stream it on Prime Video, YouTube, and ppv.com. I've just blew through a bunch of stuff. Will, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. And no, like we can't undersell the idea of the show being available on HBO Max. And I think it's very fitting that we've got a special Collision this coming Saturday that literally is an hour beforehand. And if you're one of the HBO Max viewers who watches Collision on Max, you can just go straight into the show. It's going to be so awesome. I'm really excited about that. And this is, again, it's always a great time when we're doing pay-per-view in AEW. And what's also always a great time is our friends over at Upper Deck. Yeah. And I want you all to make sure that you are collecting your favorite wrestlers in 2025 Upper Deck AEW. Start your trading card collection today. Unwrap autograph, memorabilia, or premium tech inserts. Visit upperdeck.com to learn more. I've got my Upper Deck cards right in front of me, and I know you've got yours too. We've got these Metal Universe cards.
These are super shiny.
They're super awesome. And just looking at the people who are on the card, my God.
I like the first one I pulled is one of our newest commentators, Mr. Bryan Danielson.
Yes. I was so excited for that news to officially hit and to hear Bryan. He's such a great commentator, such a great voice for professional wrestling, and he pays such great attention to things that just if you have that conversation with him, you know that. And so for him to be on commentary now is really exciting. Somebody who's actually on the card coming up is one Bishop Khan. He is going to be, of course, part of the six-man tag.
I pulled a Shelton Benjamin. Speaking of which.
Look at that.
Cards everywhere. All the collectors hate me now.
Well, look, I pulled a card for a man that I think a lot of people are eagerly awaiting the return of. We got the one and only Eddie Kingston.
Boom.
Look at that. Did we get two different ones?
I think we did. Is yours yellow? Mine's like blue. Ooh,
yeah,
watch the video version.
Look at that. Watch the video version. Yep. It's exciting. Yeah, check out these cards again, upperdeck.com to learn more. And they're always so great. I have so many Upper Deck cards, and I was a young card collector when I was a kid, and so it's exciting now to have this be a part of AEW as long as Upper Deck's been a part of AEW, and it's just like, it's fun. It's fun. If you collect cards, if you collect anything, you definitely want to check out Upper Deck, upperdeck.com. You also want to make sure that you are a part of this Saturday, September 20th, live, Scotiabank Arena, Toronto, Canada, AEW All Out. Look, All Out has always been a special show for us.
You're you're already speechless and we haven't even gone through the card yet.
Well, just more so, I think about All Out all the time. Like the first AEW pay-per-view I attended, I didn't get to go to the first Double or Nothing. First AEW pay-per-view I ever attended was All Out. I have a lot of great memories from All Out. Literally, I was sitting front row and watching you ref the main event that night and crown the first ever AEW World Champion. Like it was such it's such a special pay-per-view for AEW. It's such a special place. It's such a special time. And to do this in Toronto for the first time, I can't wait. The Toronto fans always show up.
Worth a reminder as well, there's an early start time for this pay-per-view. It's at 3 p.m. Eastern.
3 p.m. Eastern.
If you're more of a West Coast girly like me and you want to invite your friends over for brunch, great opportunity. But I'm excited because it means we get kind of the whole day to just fill it up with wrestling. I get to go back to the hotel by 11 p.m. I'm excited.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, you can check the show out on HBO Max. It's available on Prime Video. It's available on YouTube. It's available on Triller. It's available on ppv.com. However you get your pay-per-views, traditional pay-per-view as well. However you get your pay-per-views, you want to make sure you are watching. And if you are in Ontario, and you want to be a part of this show, AEWTIX.com. Get your tickets now. They're very limited left. You want to make sure, very limited. Like I said, Toronto always shows out. I think about the last run of shows we did in Toronto back in, what was that, March?
March.
March of last year.
Yeah, because I took that week off so that Brandon could take my spot and experience how loud the Toronto fans were. Like, that's how much I love Toronto.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about like every run we've done in Toronto, including like before I started that first run with back in the fall of 2022. And then like it's just those fans always show out. It's such a great time. And last year was incredible. Forbidden Door in 2023 was incredible. So we have a precedent for what we do in Toronto. But looking at this card, it's going to be huge. And we're starting off with the TBS Championship. Mercedes Mone, the TBS champion, the reigning and defending TBS champion. She has been on a tear, but this time she's got to defend the title against the first ever AEW Women's World Champion, Riho.
I'm very, very excited. Like, can I tell you how excited I was to see Riho backstage when we were in Philly? I just walk in and I see this adorable little girl and she's just like, hi. And she puts out her arms real big. I'm like, yeah, she's back.
Riho is back. Yeah, it's really exciting. Of course, Riho out with injury last year, and we've just been waiting for the right time for her to make her return to the ring and to step up against Mercedes Mone. Now, again, we've seen Mercedes have defense after defense after defense. She has been a fighting TBS champion, and not just that, but she has been collecting these belts left and right, and it feels like it almost feels like Groundhog Day in the sense that we keep having to have this conversation about when is it going to happen? Like, is she going to tire out? And she just doesn't. And now we've got Riho, the first ever AEW Women's World Champion. And that is nothing to sneeze at, right? Like, she defeated Nyla Rose. She held that title with dignity and grace. She was, again, the first ever Women's World Champion. But it's a very different AEW than it was then. And the roster is so stacked in a way that it never has been before. And to see Riho now, who almost represents kind of a bygone era of the women's division, to come in and kind of replant her flag, there's nobody bigger to do that against than Mercedes Mone.
I think my favorite part of Mercedes having as many titles as she does is the creative ways to figure out how we can show off all of those titles while not eating up too much TV time. Like, she had Emmy carrying a bunch of her belts when they had the tag match in Philly and Dynamite last week. And then we had them hanging on the ropes during her entrance as well. And it's just one of those things with all of the belts she has. I think whenever you think of Mercedes, the number one belt you think of with her is the TBS Championship. It has almost become synonymous with Mercedes Mone. So it is kind of difficult to see, does Riho have a chance? And I honestly think she does, because she's been this incredible part of our locker room since day one. And she is, she might be small, but she is mighty. She can fight. She can fight.
Absolutely, she can. And again, I think, like I said before, the fact that she's back now, and I think there is something for her to prove that her era means just as much to AEW as any. And there's no other way to prove that than beating the best in the world, and that is Mercedes Mone. And she proves that just simply being world renowned. Literally all those titles come from all over the world. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this match. I would love to say that Riho always pulls out a surprise, but it's almost not surprising at this point because of how good she is.
It's you're going to see an amazing, amazing match when you see these two women in the ring. Like, either side, either opponent, it just is a standard now. So to see both of them coming together, it's really, really exciting. Speaking of exciting, I want to talk about this literal dream match that we're having in Toronto with some hometown boys. We've got Adam Copeland and Christian Cage versus FTR. So one of the greatest tag teams of all time versus another greatest tag team of all time. Arguably the best current tag team. It's like,
it took me a second to think about the fact that I didn't know which one you were talking about when you made that initial statement about one of the greatest tag teams of all time. But yes, this is a dream match in every sense. I mean, just on paper alone, seeing Adam Copeland, Christian Cage back together, is already enough. To see them back together in their hometown of Toronto. For the benefit of those with flash photography, would you even say that anymore? Because every phone has a flash and everybody's got flash photography in their pocket. But to see these two back together again has already been special. And to see it up against FTR, this is two of the all-time great tag teams from two completely different eras. This is the kind of stuff that AEW was built for. This is the kind of stuff that AEW was made for. Literally, I showed this match to a friend who has been kind of out of wrestling for a very, very long time. And just the idea of getting to see Copeland, Christian, back together in Toronto of all places, and again, just the idea of seeing them together made this person go, "Oh my god, I have to see the show." And this person happens to live in Toronto, so it was like, "You want to be at this show?"
AEWTix.com.
AEWTix.com. But yeah, and then the idea of them going up against FTR. This has been such a personal rivalry. And, you know, it all started really the moment the moment Adam Copeland arrived in AEW. And we knew it was going to happen. We knew we were going to see these two together again. It was just a matter of when it got to happen. And it finally happened. And the beauty of it all is that Copeland is still Copeland. Christian Cage is still Christian Cage, for better or worse. Whether you love him, whether you hate him, he is still the same Christian Cage through and through. And to see these two kind of bring that brotherhood back together. You know, at one point they used to play brothers, and now but you know that these two grew up together. They've been best friends practically their entire lives. You see these two backstage now, and that camaraderie between them is back. And now it's up against FTR, and this is a very, very different FTR than we've ever seen. This is a very vicious, very hungry FTR. They've got Big Stoke in their corner now, and you know, with everything that surrounded Cope's return to the ring and FTR being there for him and being there to guide him through his return to the ring, and it's been so personal. And then again, you just remove the personal aspect of it. You just talk about four great wrestlers. You talk about just four guys who know their way around a ring. Four guys who are, two of them are absolute veterans in the business. The other two, you would think, have been at this for the last 40 years, despite the fact that, you know, they're not really that old.
I think they're 40.
Right. but just the idea that they're so they're like a well-oiled machine as a tag team, and they feel like veterans of the tag team industry, and to know that now these two are going to go, or these two teams going head to head. I'm so excited for this. It is a dream match in every sense. And again, this is the kind of stuff that AEW is made for. This is the kind of stuff that when AEW came about, it's like we knew we were going to get to see the kind of stuff that you couldn't get anywhere else, that you were never going to see. And FTR versus Cope and Christian is it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the Copeland debut at Wrestle Dream, because I feel like the moment that he came out and his music hit, all of us started doing the dream match pairing in our head, right? Like, right. Oh, it's be really great. Like, Christian's here, he's here. Let's do this. What if they got back together? What if they face these guys? What if they face these guys? And I just like that each addition you make to our company kind of creates this exponential growth of different match combinations. So it's like, it was a matter of time. The fact that the schedule lined up so nicely that it's in Toronto is just, I think, a bonus for everyone. It means everyone's families get to be there. Oh man, this is great. I'm so excited. All right. We've got so much to cover, so we need to make sure we cover one more match before we go to break. And it's a match I'm really excited to talk about. We've got the Hurt Syndicate versus Ricochet, Bishop Khan, and Toa Liona. Can I say how much I love working with Ricochet, Bishop Khan, and Toa Liona? As evident by
amazing.
the amount of clips I have of me just yelling at Ricochet for being an asshole.
I mean, look, that is probably the best part of your job, is getting to do so. But yeah, Ricochet, I think, has been on a complete tear this year. He has completely found himself and found exactly who he is. And to now, the Gates of Agony have been a little bit lost over the last year, and really been trying to find exactly where they fit, especially as Brian Cage went and joined the Don Callis family. It was like, what is next for GOA? And then for Ricochet to find them and for them to find Ricochet, it was like a match made in heaven, and they feel like they belong together. And yeah, I'm ready for these guys to move up and to move to the next level. And in order to do that, they have to beat some. Again, we talk about well-oiled machines. We talk about the Hurt Syndicate. We talk about Shelton Benjamin. We talk about Bobby Lashley. We talk about MVP.
You say well-oiled. We mean both literally and figuratively.
Yes. And, I think that when you talk about the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin were just former World Tag Team Champions. They did not get pinned, and it's because of these guys. And they have a lot of aggression. They got a lot of anger inside of them, and they know they want to take it out on these three. I think the X factor here is going to be MVP. I think MVP, he is a world-renowned wrestler. He is a fighter in every sense, and when MVP was full-time, he was at the top of his game. But I think you have to consider the fact that MVP is not a full-time performer. And whereas you have those three kind of going at full pace at all times, they are full-time guys. And I think that could work to their advantage. As seasoned as the Hurt Syndicate is, the fact that Toa Liona, Bishop Khan, Ricochet are going as hard as they can and they have something to prove, I think the demand is there for them. And I am ready to see these guys do what they're going to do. And in order to do it, they have to beat the Hurt Syndicate.
I'm one of those people. I've been a fan of Ricochet for a really, really long time. I found a picture of me. I paid for a meet and greet so I could get a picture with him back when he was still in New Japan. It was freaking great. So to see him kind of transform this year and grow as a wrestler in a way that I don't think any of us could have imagined. I think him, as well as Bishop Khan and Toa Liona, who have worked extremely hard. I think seeing all three of these guys get an opportunity on a pay-per-view, like peeking behind the curtain, I'm really excited about that. I love seeing my coworkers who are putting in the time and the effort and the hustle and getting rewarded for that. So that's really cool.
And there's so much more to talk about here as we're previewing All Out. We've got Kris Statlander coming up here in just a little bit, but we're going to take a quick break. Don't forget, All Out is live on pay-per-view this Saturday, September 20th, live from Scotiabank Arena. It's going to be available on HBO Max. It's available on Prime Video, YouTube, Triller, payperview.com, and of course, traditional pay-per-view. We've got so much more to come. Stay tuned right here. It's AEW Unrestricted. This is AEW Unrestricted. It's Aubrey Edwards, it's Will Washington, and we are talking about AEW All Out this Saturday, live, Scotiabank Arena, Toronto, Canada. It's the first ever pay-per-view to be available on HBO Max. It's a 3 p.m. start time. You want to be a part of it. If you have the chance and you're in the Ontario area, AEWTix.com. If you're watching it on pay-per-view, you can watch it on HBO Max. It's available on Prime Video. It's available on YouTube, Triller, and of course, ppv.com. And it's available on traditional pay-per-view as well. And, we've talked about so many personal rivalries so far going into this show, but it doesn't get any more personal to me than this upcoming coffin match. Jon Moxley, Darby Allin, one-on-one. This feels like this has been building since the Death Riders began. And it's finally here. It's right in front of us. Darby Allin has a chance to go at the leader of the Death Riders in Jon Moxley. This, again, like I said, it's been going for quite some time. You forget that almost over a year ago, Darby Allin had a title match to have a shot at the AEW World title at All Out. And he lost that shot to Jon Moxley. And Jon Moxley used that shot to then become AEW World Champion, and that ended up setting off the chain of events that created the Death Riders as we know them now. Darby's always carried that guilt on his shoulders. We've heard Darby talk about that quite a bit, and he knows that the only way that he can absolve that guilt to rid himself of those demons is to defeat Jon Moxley. And there's no better way to defeat Jon Moxley than to do it in a match that belongs to Darby Allin. We're talking about the coffin match. Darby knows his way around a coffin quite well. He's not quite undefeated in them, but he knows his way around the coffin. And, it's just a matter of how does he handle the Death Riders now, knowing how big it's grown, especially with Daniel Garcia in the mix now.
I know. Oh, like as soon as seeing Daniel Garcia finally join the Death Riders, it was just like so sad. It was like, no, poor Danny. Stay on the good side. No. I just want to shout out to Darby Allin, who can get like such a grudge on somebody that literally spends months preparing for a climb to Everest, gets to the top, and then cuts a promo on Jon Moxley. Like, that is how much this guy wants to take out Jon Moxley during this pay-per-view, right? Like, we have to keep that in mind. Sure, Jon Moxley's done some despicable things, right? Like, I distinctly remember him pushing Darby down that gigantic flight of stairs when we were at the Harstein Ballroom in New York. So it's like Darby's bruised and battered before he even starts climbing Everest. And then he goes to do this thing. Like, this is one of those things where Darby is almost justified in anything that could potentially happen in this match. Oh, yeah. Because Jon Moxley has not only done things to him, he's also done things to other people on this roster. I'm not going to condone violence, but whatever comes to both of these guys, it's like it took us a while to get here.
Yes. No, honestly, when you think about how we went off the air on the last pay-per-view, right? Because Jon Moxley taking out Will Ospreay, we're still feeling the reverberations of that today. And Darby, he's one of his friends. We've wanted to see Darby get his hands on Jon Moxley and the Death Riders pretty much this entire time for the last year now. This is probably the match I'm most excited for. I think that, again, what Darby's been able to do in coffin matches, win or lose, has always been some killer shit, man. And but at the same time, you talk about killers. Jon Moxley himself is a killer. And I think
literally took out Bryan Danielson.
Literally took out Bryan Danielson. And I think coming out of the Texas Death at All In, and then coming out of that unsanctioned steel cage match at Forbidden Door, I think Jon Moxley's got a chip on his shoulder, and he's going to prove that he's still the top dog in AEW. And Darby Allin is not going to take it. Darby Allin's not taking that lightly. Darby Allin has not been able to defeat Jon Moxley in a one-on-one scenario. We've seen them wrestle back in 2019. We saw them wrestle over the AEW World Championship. There's so many times that these guys have gone one-on-one, and for Darby to get to now have Jon Moxley in his environment, this could go either way. But again, it's the match I am absolutely most looking forward to.
You mentioned chip on your shoulder at one point, and I think that's an incredible segue for this next match, which I think all of us are incredibly excited for the return of Eddie Kingston, who has been out since May 11th of 2024. And Eddie's just one of those guys, like, all of us love him. I don't know a single person that doesn't like Eddie, maybe Claudio Castagnoli, but there's history there. I'm so happy that Eddie's back. Like, yes. He's incredible on the microphone. He's incredible in the ring. And as soon as Big Bill put out the challenge to Eddie, you could not imagine how wide my grin got. Like, Joker style, ear to ear, all the way. Like, Eddie's coming back. Like, we've all been waiting for this moment patiently, sometimes impatiently, and it's finally here. We get to see Eddie Kingston versus Big Bill. Oh my God, this is going to be great.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. We just got through talking about Darby Allin. You almost forget that Eddie Kingston, was in quite the heat with the Elite going into Double or Nothing, and Darby Allin came in to replace Eddie Kingston going into Blood and Guts. Not Blood and Guts. The Anarchy in the Arena. Yeah,
with
Anarchy
the flamethrower.
Oh my God, flamethrower. Yeah. Yep, exactly. And so much has happened in that time. And for Eddie Kingston now, who's been sitting on the sidelines waiting for his moment to come back. And of course, I think Big Bill kind of poked the bear. Big Bill has been on a tear himself, and he has just been running through opponent after opponent after opponent, looking for somebody who's angry, who's hungry, who's ready for it. And I think he may have bitten off more than he can chew in Eddie Kingston, who is ready to take his spot back on the card.
Oh my God. The only little bit that I've seen of Eddie in the last few years is just, I know he's been working really, really hard. I know he's got his nutrition. He's got his workouts. Like, he's been preparing for this, whether or not Big Bill knew it the whole time.
Right.
So I think we're all very, very excited, both personally and professionally, to see Eddie Kingston in the ring.
I'm so excited to have Eddie back.
This weekend in Toronto at AEW All Out. We are going to be in the Scotiabank Arena, AEWTIX.com. You can watch it on HBO Max, paypv.com, YouTube, Triller, all of the places we've mentioned. We've got a little bit more to talk about, but more importantly, coming up next, we've got Kris Statlander, and we'll be talking about her 4-way match coming up this weekend on Saturday for the AEW Women's World Championship. But stay tuned after the break.
AEW Unrestricted, Will Washington, Aubrey Edwards. We are talking about All Out, which is live this Saturday, Toronto, Canada, Scotiabank Arena. AEWTix.com is the way to be a part of that show. But don't forget, it's also available on pay-per-view. It's the first pay-per-view available on HBO Max, and you want to check it out. It's also available on Prime Video, YouTube, Triller, ppv.com, traditional pay-per-view. And, you know, we've been talking about so much of this card, but we have to talk about this big match. It is a 4-way match for the AEW Women's World Championship. Toni Storm is defending the title against Tekla, Jamie Hayter, and our guest.
Yay!
It is the one and only Kris Statlander. Kris.
Hello.
Thanks for being here on Unrestricted.
Yes.
We were just talking about during the break, quite the stat that you are challenging for the AEW Women's World Championship, but specifically, this is your first shot at the AEW Women's World Championship since All Out 2021.
Yes, that is very correct, and thank you for reminding me how long it's been.
Well, more than that, no joke. I mean this with all sincerity. One of my favorite matches of all time. That match, I was in the crowd for that match, Chicago, and everybody was on their feet. I like the moment with you and Orange. It's still one of my all-time favorite moments.
Yes.
Him willing you back into that match. I love it so much. And just thinking about the fact that you haven't been back to the world title since that night, but you came so close that night. And it's one of those moments where it's like, it's very fitting that we're back here at All Out and you have another shot at the World Championship. Do you think about that moment and how close you came that night and how poetic it is that you're back at All Out and have another opportunity to possibly this time become the AEW Women's World Champion?
I do think when it comes to me and titles and pay-per-views, I've had a lot of some of those poetic moments because I lost my title at a Full Gear in a triple threat match, and then I didn't challenge again for it until Full Gear the following year. And that was a singles match, and I failed. But then I failed the world title in a singles match, and now I'm in a multi-man match at All Out, the same pay-per-view. So maybe I'll have reverse odds this time.
Ooh.
Weird little things.
Weird little things, but I mean, you have to kind of keep them in mind, right? And this time, like, you're working with some people that you are very, very familiar with. I know you've had a couple matches recently with Tekla, even though she's still very new to AEW. We've seen her quite frequently, a lot of these multi-person matches. Jamie Hayter, who you have experience with because you she defeated you in the women's Owen Hart tourney semifinal last April. And then Toni Storm, who, you know, is an amazing individual and has been a great steward of our division. But at the same time, you know, anytime I think of our women's roster, Kris Statlander is one of the first names that comes to my mind, because while you may not have had that championship, you are such an epitome of the hard work that we see week in and week out in the locker room. So knowing that you're facing these three really, really strong competitors in the matches, what is sort of your mindset going into it and facing all three of these ladies at the same time?
Well, it's sort of a tricky thing because I do have both. I have experience against Tekla in multiple matches, but I have a size advantage over her. Jamie, she did beat me in the one time we've ever had a singles match against each other, but back before leading up to that last title match that I had, I beat her in a handicap match. And then Toni Storm, I've never had a singles match with her. I've had a triple threat with her, the gauntlet matches, tag matches with her. But in that triple threat with her, I pinned her. I have a win over her. So I kind of see multi-man matches as tricky as they can be, as chaotic as they can be. I see them as an opportunity to like really take advantage of something that you don't necessarily see there in a standard one-on-one match. So I feel I'm excited. I love a multi-man. I love the chaosness. Mm-hmm. So I'm very much so looking forward to it.
You've called this a reformation year. What's been the biggest change in your approach mentally or physically since 2024?
It's not even necessarily since 2024, but since 2019, honestly. I feel like so much of my experience in AEW has been surrounding other people and not necessarily being like me watching over everybody else, but just always having people by my side no matter what. And most of 2024 and the majority of 2025 has been me just kind of trying to figure out the ropes on my own and just be my own wrestler. And I don't know where I stand with obviously most of the roster. I understand why they have their feelings that they do about me. However, sometimes I think it's good to keep people at an arm's length, especially with all these other situations going on. I think I do need this opportunity to just be on my own, and that's why I say it's a reformation year, because I don't really know where I stand with a lot of things, my views, my morals, my friendships. So I just kind of have to I have to see where wrestling brings me and not try and push it somewhere that it's not willing to go.
I can see that, and kind of talking on that a little bit more, like you're going into All Out sort of more as a lone wolf than you really ever have before. And one of the things that fans have kind of noticed, and we've noticed as well, is that your friendship with Willow Nightingale this past year, like you guys were tight, sort of broke down. There's this question of like, what's the history there? Like, do you two have each other's backs? Like, how has that dynamic shift affected you heading into high pressure title matches?
I just really have to remember that no matter what I do, people are always going to have their opinions, and you really have to start being selfish at a certain point, and not necessarily in a bad way, but you have to just remember that some people just don't care what you do, and they don't care to see you win. They don't care to see you fail though either. They just are very neutral, and they need to have their own personal experiences. So I just have to remember going into these big title matches that I have to do it for me, and not to make anybody else proud, not to make anybody else happy, but I have to do it to prove something to myself, to prove that maybe I don't need to constantly rely on other people for support.
Well, speaking of some of those other people, there have been some people that have had their eye on you a little bit. One particular very old friend of yours in Wheeler Yuta has definitely been keeping an eye on kind of everything that Kris Statlander has been up to in 2025. And what are your feelings as far as all of that's going at the moment?
I mean, honestly, I feel like he's probably he's snuck like an air tag in my suitcase or something. He just keeps showing up uninvited. I don't know what his deal is. So it's confusing to hear advice from a familiar face. However, the characteristics behind that face that you're so familiar with are completely different. And sure, things may have worked out in a way for him, but obviously that doesn't mean things work out for me. So it's hard to trust really anyone's advice, especially when the intention behind the advice may not be the best. But I will say some of the advice coming from other people besides Yuta, some of the most credible people in this business, and it would be stupid to not necessarily listen to someone who has had so much success in their career. So that's all I'm going to say.
I think it's a really valid point, because like we all get into wrestling because we really love it, right? But in order to be successful in pretty much anything, you have to sort of make the decisions that are best for you. And, in that, I think you're kind of justified in how you may or may not have gotten to this point, because it's like you're looking out for Kris Statlander, and Kris Statlander is an awesome wrestler, and she's having awesome matches, and she's going to have an awesome match this Saturday. We spent a lot of time with our guests talking about their matches, but I'm actually kind of curious, is there any other match on the show that you're particularly excited about?
I mean, I will say, seeing Copeland and our father, Christian Cage, teaming up is such a great. Our blessed father, Christian Cage, seeing them team up is going to be really, really exciting. And it's not even just like seeing the match; it's just seeing like the emotion of how the crowd's going to feel. That's going to be one of those matches that like everyone's going to be like having some sort of moment when that match is going on, whether they want to or not. There's just going to be a vibe in the building. So I'm excited to just experience that.
I love it. Kris Statlander, thank you for being here on AEW Unrestricted. It is always a pleasure to have you. And of course, you can see Kris Statlander again in a 4-way match for the AEW Women's World Championship. She's taking on Tekla. She is taking on Jamie Hayter. And of course, the AEW Women's World Champion, timeless Toni Storm. Again, Kris Statlander, thank you for being here.
Thank you. And I can understand why everyone's upset with me, but I will say I never put a bag over anyone's head. So that's my closing statement.
Let's just remember that. Fair point. Love talking to Kris Statlander. I think she's one of the people that have been on this podcast more than others. So, I mean, just as a note, like, she's dedicated. She loves this job. She's willing to do anything that's asked of her. You tell her to jump, she's already like, I'm in the air, bitch. How much higher do you need me to go? Like, I love Statlander. She's absolutely amazing. Someone else I absolutely love is Mark Briscoe, because who doesn't love Mark Briscoe? New father of his 9th child, by the way.
Yes. No, are you kidding me? Like, every time I talk to Mark, it feels like he's got some news of another child coming. But
because he probably does.
Because he probably does. No, but honestly, I think it's really cool. But what hasn't been cool is how far everything has gone with MJF, and it's now reached this boiling point. They've been really going at it since this past summer, back in July, and with Max stealing the win in the Casino Gauntlet from Mark Briscoe, and now Mark's got a chance to choose the stipulation for their match at All Out, and he has chosen a no disqualification tables and thumbtacks match.
I have a history with thumbtacks. I'm not a fan. Whoever is reffing that, I'm just going to put it out there. Like, make sure you have some sort of like salve that you can add afterwards, because like thumbtacks are itchy, man. Like, on top of them just being extremely painful when you land on them, like little, and then tables as well. Like, fuck, dude.
Yeah, it looks painful. I haven't had to deal with that, and I always like, every time I see a 3 count about to take place and there's thumbtacks nearby, I'm just like,
you get really good at like sliding them out of the way with one arm so you can count with the other. So whoever ends up getting that match, I might have to like pull them aside, be like, hey, let me tell you about way back when.
This has turned into an absolute personal rivalry between these two, and for Mark Briscoe to finally get his hands on MJF and to get to choose the stipulation in doing so, and the fact that he has chosen this stipulation. And that's not to say that Max isn't somebody who hasn't been able to figure his way out of any situation, and that's why this doesn't necessarily favor anybody, right? Because MJF is MJF for a reason, and no matter what situation you put him in, it's like 2 years ago, if you had said Iron Man match between MJF and Bryan Danielson, you're like, oh, that's a match that favors Bryan Danielson, but MJF figured his way out of it, right? That is just who MJF is, and the fact that he is now in a situation that would be extremely favorable to Mark Briscoe, you can't count MJF out in any of these types of situations. He doesn't have the Hurt Syndicate behind him anymore, and that should help Mark Briscoe in this scenario. But at the same time, again, he's MJF. There's always something up his sleeve.
And I mean, that's one of those matches that can go either way. But honestly, I think there's one more match that could go either way. And that's our AEW Men's World Title, Hangman Page and Kyle Fletcher. And the reason I say that is because Kyle Fletcher has been on a tear for the number of years that he's been with AEW. Like, of all the people that have had like a glow up and also just a complete like dominance, and like, it's like, I saw a picture of Kyle Fletcher a year ago and I'm like, who the hell is that? I didn't even know, because he has literally transformed into the wrestler he is today. Like, he, not only physically, but like mentally, we've seen it in his matches. He's just crisp. He's direct. He's fierce. There's like nothing that, like, he doesn't know the definition of holding back. I don't know if he ever did, but if he did, he forgot it, because like, oh man, I'm so excited that Kyle's getting this opportunity. But at the same time, Hangman Page with the title after he won it in July at All In, like, I don't think there's ever been a more right feeling for AEW as having our main character with his championship. But brother, I am excited about this. And I think if there's anybody who could take on the Cowboy, it's actually Kyle Fletcher, our current TNT champion.
I think that, you know, when I remember having a conversation 2.5 years ago with Kyle Fletcher. It was just before he signed his contract officially with AEW. And kind of knowing and talking to him about what his goals were and what he was planning to achieve here in AEW, and then watching him do it all in those 2.5 years. And, you know, whether it was winning tag team gold or joining the Don Callis family, having matches with Will Ospreay and just tearing the house down and making such a name for himself in such a short amount of time. That is what Kyle Fletcher has done. He has, as you said, he is completely transformed. This man does not look the same. He doesn't talk the same. He doesn't walk the same. He has really become something else as the TNT champion. And we're ignoring the fact that he is the TNT champion, right? He defeated Dustin Rhodes. And again, he has just been somebody who has been holding that title proudly above his head and reminding us just who he is. Now, that said, he's still a very, very young Kyle Fletcher, and I thought it was very fitting that Hangman Adam Page last week on Dynamite brought up the fact that Kyle Fletcher is where Hangman was when Hangman challenged Chris Jericho for the world title in 2019, and that Hangman, you know, he realized in that moment he thought he was ready, but he didn't quite have it all yet. And, you know, it took knocking Hangman back to really get us to learn what cowboy shit was all about and learn exactly who Hangman Adam Page is. And he has the chance to remind Kyle Fletcher of who Hangman Page is. And I think no matter what, the fans are in for a treat. This is going to be an awesome match. When you think about what Kyle Fletcher's already been able to do this year, what Hangman's been able to do this year, and now to have these two be able to go one-on-one with the AEW World Championship on the line, again, the biggest winner in this entire scenario is the fans.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, like, we say it every time. We could not be bigger broken records than when we talk about AEW pay-per-views, that each one is better than the last. That if you want to have a surefire way of spending your money and getting more value than what you paid for out of it, you watch an AEW pay-per-view, whether it is getting those tickets and seeing it live, AEWTIX.com, or if it's watching it on pay-per-view, which is now on HBO Max. Yes. Oh my God. It's on PPV.com, YouTube, Prime Video, Triller TV. There's so many places that you can watch this pay-per-view. It's going to be incredible. I'm so excited to head to Canada. I love Canada. They have all the fun snacks. They have amazing fans.
They do. I actually was just recently looking at my travel history and realized just through AEW alone, I have been to Canada like 14 times. And it's kind of wild. I'm excited to get to step into Toronto again. Again, the fans bring it every single time. You fans, you beautiful Toronto, Ontario, Canada fans. I am so looking forward to hearing you guys bring that energy the moment we open the doors at Scotiabank Arena. And again, you want to check it out, AEWTix.com, and it's available for the first time ever on HBO Max. And don't forget, you can also stream it on Prime Video, YouTube, Triller, PPV.com, traditional pay-per-view. However you get your pay-per-views, make sure you do not miss AEW. And AEW All Out. We always deliver on pay-per-view. You do not want to miss this. Otherwise, folks, thank you for being here and joining us on AEW Unrestricted. Don't forget that this show is presented by Upper Deck. Collect your favorite wrestlers in 2025 Upper Deck AEW. Start your trading card collection today. Unwrap, autograph, memorabilia, or premium tech inserts. Visit upperdeck.com to learn more. And you can listen to and follow this podcast, AEW Unrestricted, at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And check out video episodes on our YouTube channel at AEW Unrestricted. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And are you an AEW insider? Get early access to ticket pre-sales, special merchandise offers, and more straight to your inbox. Sign up today at AEWTix.com, where you can also get tickets to this show. And don't forget that AEW Dynamite is on TBS Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. and streaming on HBO Max. And also, Collision is live every Saturday on TNT and streaming on HBO Max. And we've got a special Collision this Saturday. It comes up 1 hour, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 hour before 3 p.m. Eastern, which is our start time for AEW All Out. And you do not want to miss that Collision. It's going to be live this Saturday on TNT and streaming on HBO Max. Also, don't forget ROH streams every Thursday on Honor Club. I'm Will Washington. She is Aubrey Edwards. We'll see you next time. Have a great day. Peace.
Bye.